For more on this, I'm joined by Simon Kiss. He's a political science professor at Wilfrid Laurier University. Simon, the polls show a Ford majority. Can we trust the polls?
Yes and no. Polling's not an exact science, and a lot of things have been changing in the last 20 years with technology and demographics. But the polling industry has been adapting, so I would say maybe. It seems like the Progressive Conservatives might be significantly ahead. There's always scope for surprises.
So the Ford government has been plagued by the Greenbelt scandal, which the RCMP is now investigating. There have been intense criticisms of his handling of healthcare, of the housing file, of many files. Yet tonight we're looking at potentially the largest majority government he's had. How do you explain that?
Voters don't compare candidates to perfection, they compare candidates to each other. And so I think in this election, one of the stories is that the opposition is still sorting itself out, and voters are still waiting for someone or a party to rally opposition voters. So I think, Liberal voters, or a lot of voters, still have a bit of misgivings about the Liberal Party. I think people have long memories, and they're still looking for a way to coalesce in an alternative to the Ford government.
Let's talk about the Liberals for a second. Bonnie Crombie's riding itself is considered a toss-up. She could very well still not have a seat in the House. Do you think that would affect her leadership of the party going forward if she doesn't win tonight? I mean,
I'm a bit skeptical about that seat being a toss-up. I'd be very surprised if she were to lose. It could happen, but I'd be very surprised. And if she does, it'd be very hard to continue as leader of the Liberal Party. But I'll just say I'd be very, very surprised to see if Bonnie Crombie loses her seat.
You think she's going to get it?
My guess is that she should take it without too much difficulty.
Okay. And Marit Stiles, the NDP, again, looking at the polling, looking at the forecasting, they potentially could lose a lot of seats tonight. If that happens, even if Marit holds on to her seat, which is considered pretty safe, does she have a future as the leader of the NDP?
The NDP as a party does not have a history of getting rid of its leaders. It's just not that kind of a party. I can only think of one case. So I think the likelihood of Marit continuing as party leader, even in the case that the party loses a lot of seats, is reasonable.
Now, you're going to be joining us for the rest of the evening. You're part of our 9 p.m. election results show. What ridings in particular are you going to be looking at? What are the things that are going to interest you tonight?
I'm looking at turnout. In some ways, it seems like turnout might be low, but if you actually look at the rates of people voting in advance, rates are actually quite high, which might seem to suggest that there may actually be a bit of a surprise in turnout. I'm going to be looking at ridings like Parry Sound Muskoka, where the Greens are trying to picking up a third seat. I'm going to be looking at Kitchener Centre, where the Greens are going to be trying to defend their second seat. And I'm going to be looking to see whether the NDP can hold on in general to second place and maintain their hold as official opposition, or whether they'll be taken over by the Liberals.
What are your thoughts on that? Because I see that in the popular vote, the Liberals are quite higher, again, according to the polling, but the NDP are still forecast to win more seats in the House.
Yeah, so popular vote gets translated into seats in all kinds of wonky ways, and if you can focus those votes in particular regions of the province, you can actually do very well. And so in the last election, the NDP and the Liberals were tied for second place in popular vote, but the NDP came out much further ahead in terms of the seats. They just had a much more efficient vote count. And so even though there is a gap between the NDP and the Liberals, between difficulties with polling as an industry, the weather, and vote efficiency, there's scope for surprises.
All right, that's political science professor Simon Kiss. Simon, thanks so much for being with us tonight. We're going to hear much more from you later on the election show.
Thank you.
All right.